Buzz with Jess Lujan.
We're back with my studio guest, Mr. Tim Rohr, JungleWatch.info. You gotta get into that blog. Tim, let me ask you this, because Deacon Steve, Steve had written a couple letters to the Archbishop.
Right.
And this wasn't you writing it; it was Deacon Steve writing it.
Yeah.
And his concerns, basically, he had a couple concerns. First of all, he was basically, he said, how can you do this as the former SARC, right?
Right.
SARC, that I can't go without, although I'm former, because I'm a person of the cloth.
Right.
Is my duty. It is that I have to do this, and I have to write this to you with my concern. So he wrote about Father Lewis and what he's alleged to have done,
Correct.
And all that. And then he also goes on to say, I got real concern of what they're teaching up there, because Father Lewis was ordained from going to that seminary, the RMS up at in Jonia, and whether or not he learned from that, because one of the, I guess, the advisors or someone he studied under maybe, referenced certain things to what the actual thing that Father Lewis had done. He also said there's a lot of sexual deviance. I mean, I'm saying here, man, this is not a frat house.
No.
I mean, this is seminary.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wow, this is not Tim writing. This is a deacon writing.
Right.
Has he gotten any response that you know of? And this is major concern.
Yeah.
Tim, this is our church, Catholic Church.
Right. No response. Of course, he didn't expect any, because that's how the Archbishop handles everything. Just don't reply. However, the problem is that everybody now can see for themselves what's going on there, because they're ordaining these guys, and they're coming out and they're doing some really strange stuff, saying strange stuff, saying very sexual stuff, which is just not normal. We don't hear that. Also, they're sending these guys out to do witnessing, in the churches, like during Mass, and we're being told like how many girls this guy had and how many children he probably has by different women, and this is during Mass, stuff like this, So we know there's some, really serious things. Plus, there's other people now that are talking, that have been in the neo-catechumenal way and are out and are willing to talk about it. In fact, tomorrow night, we have a village meeting in Toto, at the community center at 6 o'clock. And I'm not sure if the gentleman's going to show up, but he has been willing to talk about how he was forced to confess his sexual sins in front of his community. So that, we know this already, but now we have people that really are going to talk about this. That they have to talk about, how many times they handled themselves, whatever, and publicly in front of people.
Wow.
Right. And so this kind of talk, within a community is extremely, especially if there's young people there.
Sure.
It might be done in the context of confessing, but we know, those kinds of things just stimulate the imagination, and it kind of runs wild. And then also we've seen for years this little fangirl cult with some of these seminarians that seems to be encouraged, right? So we get somebody like Father Egivaldo getting up in front of the exposed Eucharist at a so-called, youth function or whatever. So there's the Blessed Sacrament, and he's talking about sucking the juice out of girls and spitting out the seeds, warning the girls to look out for men, because that's what they'll do to you. That's the kind of suggestive talk. We just don't hear from priests. Once in a while we hear an off-color joke or something like that. But not in the context of, a worship service or something like that. So I've seen it for years, to be honest with you. And it is very scary. And we've been trying to call attention to this. The main thing, this is why we've been calling for publication of the current letter of affiliation with the Lateran University, because the only credibility that place has is that it has the so-called affiliation.
Sure.
Well, it actually expired in 2012, and they've never published an updated one, so we wonder if it's even accredited. We've asked for a list of stable and permanent professors. It's gone, and there's nothing there. We've asked to see a published academic handbook. Nothing there. So it kind of verifies everything that we suspect. It's a sham seminary. You've got these strange people coming in. You've got this guy named Giuseppe Giannarini, who's a history professor that's doing the psychological vetting of the seminarians. So he has zero credentials to do that. He's the one that tells the Archbishop who to ordain. Okay, and they were really anxious to pump out this Luis Camacho guy. Local. They wanted to have a local boy, make good, and all that kind of stuff. They pushed him through, you know, my sources tell me that he had doubts, you know, all along the way, but he was pressured to do it by his community and all this kinds of stuff, and they wanted to. Well, we can see that he was pressured to do it because obviously he didn't last 16 months before he became apart.
Yeah.
Sad for him, really. Sad for him.
Switch off a little bit. I read in your blog one of the parents of a child who was baptized, baptized in a gymnasium, one of the schools, the Catholic schools, and supposedly you can't do that. But anyway, supposedly again, if your child is baptized within the parish, there that their baptismal records should be in that parish. The parents went there to get a copy of their baptismal records. Pastor says, we don't have any records. They went back, so maybe it's down there. Oh, we don't have any records. So basically what you were saying is you alluded earlier that they're fabricating some things now that says that a baptism had occurred at the church where it didn't occur, and the parents of the child said it occurred at a school gymnasium.
Actually, it wasn't just the church, because you can. It actually has to be in the parish.
In the parish,
So if there was a baptism anywhere in the parish, I know that in some cases, like when the churches were damaged after a typhoon, you'd have the baptism someplace else. So but it has to be recorded in the parish. Well, so we know that the Neo-Catholic Middle Way does their sacraments wherever they want to do, and we know that there's not proper recordation. And with Catholics take baptism very seriously, so you got to have proper records. So when this gentleman, Lester Gonzalez, went to go get baptism record for his kid, well, we don't have it. So he went to the chancery. Well, we don't have it. So they sent him on this wild goose chase. Finally, they said, okay, well, we'll make one for you. Well, that's wrong. You know, because I mean that's the manufacturer of a record. Now, it just so happened that Monsignor David was the one who performed the baptism, so he remembered, so he did it. But then he said it happened in the Gagny Cathedral Parish, which it didn't.
Anyways, I got to go pay some bills. I don't think we're gonna.